All right, and we are live after a really long time, guys. I mean, I honestly, I don't even remember the last time I've been live. It's got to be, I don't know, like last year, at least since last year, since I've gone live. Um, but real quick, oh hi Yvette, thanks for coming. I wanted to talk about a couple things, pretty exciting things that are happening right now. I want to keep this as chill as possible. It might go kind of crazy, just disclaimer here, right? But I want to give you guys the fill in on everything that's happening from my perspective as a marketing guy. Seeing things as far as censorship, how that's affecting businesses on a small scale and a large scale, how it's affecting Las Vegas. And so I think it's only fair, right, that you guys know everything that's going on, know our plan of attack, because we always have a plan of attack, know how to protect you guys as our clients, how to protect, just our general audience, right, from everything that's going on. So let's go ahead and get started. If you guys have any questions, there will be a moderator doing their thing here. So just feel free to throw in any questions you want in the comments. If I can't address them right now, I'll do so after the live. The idea is that this live chat will be available after it's done. It's going to be downloaded, maybe pushed to video services. I don't even want to say YouTube, but yeah, probably YouTube. And you can rewatch it, and we'll probably make this and push it as a press release or whatever. But yeah, to get started, I wanted to cover all the main social medias, right, that we're familiar with, that we've personally used for our marketing efforts, and that you guys may use or just consume, right? Let's start. And I feel like an old guy here, but I do need to remind myself, because there's so much social media nowadays that it's just so hard to keep track of everything, right? So let's start off with the obvious, right? Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Snapchat, Google/YouTube, Pinterest, Spotify, LinkedIn, maybe Reddit if I missed a few, right? But just to cover these basics, so the way that this will be formatted, so you guys know, is I'm going to break down every social media, what their pros, their cons are, how they're used on a business level, and I'm also going to look at some alternatives, if any. Unfortunately, the way that the market share is right now, it is very monopolized. So there's some social media that even if you would prefer to not use, as a business standpoint, I can't say don't use this, because it's really important for your competition, right? To stay competitive within your market, you have to. But there are some where you can kind of work your way out, right? I wouldn't say, hey, you know what? You have X political preference, you shouldn't use this because it kind of goes against your rights or what you believe in. I would say, hey, let's look at this straight up in business. You guys all know where I stand with that. That's a different topic. But let's take a look at Facebook, right? Facebook has been around the longest. It has clearly a whole array of different features, things that you can leverage, things that you can monetize. I'll start off with the very basics, right? From a fundamental level, what you currently have on Facebook are business pages. And so business pages are basically where you can set it up almost like a listing, right? As people are familiar with, right? Even back in the old days, right? You guys remember Yellow Pages, right? It's the exact digital version, right? Anyone can create one that has a business platform. There's not much verification or anything set in process. You just add your contact info and that's it. Now, what comes with setting up a business page? Well, if you're a small business or just someone that likes to blog, you're a solopreneur, what you can do is run ads. And so historically, the way that people have run ads have been really broad, right? So let's put this in a different perspective. Let's say if you were going to buy a billboard, okay? And a billboard is going to cost you approximately depending on where you are, right? The frequency of the traffic is going to cost you anywhere from like $800 to $5,000 to $50,000 per month. Just really depends what you're looking for, right? But the basis is that that market is just really broad. It's whoever is on there is going to get it. That is how some people roll out with their marketing, and it's been done historically. And we have tested out, right, both ways. What's more effective, to do a really broad marketing or do something really targeted? That's another discussion, but that's just what you can do on Facebook, right? You can be really broad, like a banner style, right? Just go out, go after everyone. Or you can be really targeted. So something really targeted, to kind of equate to the old school marketing, is going to be like a direct mail, snail mail type, right? So meaning, hey, I have someone's data, they've been my client, I'm going to send them some snail mail, right? Based on what they react, how they buy, how they do these things. And so that's the more reactive side, right? It's not so much like a outbound, right in your face all the time kind of marketing. So in a nutshell, that was Facebook's basic services. And people's interpretation of that was, hey, this is a platform that for the longest time has been free for everyone to use, right? And so if anyone can jump on this platform and post just about anything, as long as it's not, direct obscenities or slander or something, right? That people would be able to use it. And everyone knows that different industries come with compliance regulations, what to do, what not to do, just stuff that is basic with business industry. But what's not anticipated is that basic business practices or basic campaigning practices from a political standpoint would remove information entirely, or that people that just have a certain viewpoint can have their content shadow banned or not promoted to the fullest extent just because of beliefs. So when you put that into perspective, right, a lot of people are saying, hey, you know what, this is an over-exaggeration. Facebook cannot do that. Yes, they can, unfortunately, right? And how? Well, it's because for years on end, whether we know it or we don't know it, they have been tracking anything from our beliefs to our health status to our marital lives. You absolutely cannot deny that they have been listening to our conversations, albeit some of us, maybe it's through a failure of reading the terms of service. Maybe they have released those beforehand. But the fact of the matter is, whether they were somewhere hidden in the terms or not, or whether you knew it or not, Facebook pretty much knows everything about you, right? I mean, you even have these instances where, and I've tried and tested this as a consumer myself. I'm like, hey, I need to look at a mattress. I need to look at a pillow. And then all of a sudden I receive ads for that. That's what's called, an invasion of your privacy, but we've just normalized it so much. So when people say, there's no way that a social media can be biased or standard, they have the right to hide everything. Well, you have the right to your own data too. And so that's about all I'll say about Facebook for now. That's it in a nutshell. I'm going to talk about the other platforms, and then we're just going to keep rolling with this. We're going to roll through the alternatives. If you're just joining right now, basically what I'm doing is I am going over the pros and cons of each social media, straight from a business standpoint, and we're going to look at alternatives, if any. Okay, so next on this little list here, we're going to look at Instagram. So we're on Instagram right now. And it's by no special, needs or anything that I'm on Instagram. It's the platform where I have the most engaged platforms, so to speak. Engaged users, I should say. Sorry. That's why I'm here. I'm on Instagram. It's more casual. I didn't want to get dressed up. I don't want to do anything for LinkedIn right now. So let's talk about Instagram. What kind of features does it have? Well, Instagram is very similar to the way Facebook operates, right? So in that same way that you can have a Facebook business page, you can also have an Instagram business page. What I like about Instagram and the basics of the platforms are that you can easily sync with Facebook, so you can pull stuff that's already in there. What I also like about it is that if you are familiar with the way that the advertising platform works on Facebook, it's a really easy segue, right? For those of you that don't know, Facebook owns Instagram. They also own WhatsApp. Talk about monopoly, right? But that's another thing. So yeah, being able to market on this is very easy because it's pretty authentic, or at least that was the idea, right? Nowadays you have so much just vanity and things that are hiding where it's hard to be even authentic in the platform. But those that succeed, like many of our clients who market in an authentic way, they understand how to leverage the platform, they understand how to grow, and they can maximize it. Instagram is one of those platforms that is teeter-tottering on losing, right? It's engagement, but if you roll with it and you're consistent with it, you can still maintain that. The moment you stop that, that's when you're going to start to see instances like Facebook. For those of you that aren't familiar, or you just kind of use Facebook for business, for family, you don't really use it for business purposes. Facebook for business purposes organically has been nearly eliminated, right? They want you to do everything through ads, handing out tons of money. And there's no problem with that, right? There's no problem if an advertising platform just wants to be straight up and be like, hey, you know what? Organically, we don't want to grow you. We just want you to focus on giving us money, and in return, we'll show you in front of people. But when the data gets misconstrued and Facebook doesn't really fulfill its promise, or the targeting is kind of off, and instead of targeting people who are within a certain income bracket, you end up targeting people that are way below that, or that don't even live in your area, right? In some cases, we will do ads and we follow everything by the book, or at least the book that Facebook gives us, right? And we target people in Las Vegas, and then all of a sudden we see some ad results show up in nearby California. It's not very often, every once in a while, but Instagram and Facebook, right, they're run through the same advertising system, so any problems that Facebook has, Instagram is tied to. That's why having a strong organic Instagram platform is so crucial. It's so crucial to really captivate your audience, have them listen to what you say. That's where putting in a wide variety of content goes into play. You want to play by everyone's ear, right? Play by their categories. Just how some people are visual learners, or visual, or I don't know, engaged readers, whatever I'm trying to say, right? Is the same way it works with consumers, right? You gotta target different types of consumers. Even if you're going down one niche, right? Let's say my niche is, hey, I'm going down a niche where I want to target female entrepreneurs, right? Let's say I have like a hosting platform and I want to target female entrepreneurs. Well, you got to be more specific than that, right? If you have female entrepreneurs, maybe a little bit older, in like 40s through 50s, they're going to be more inclined to read. So you may have more quotes, more educational content on. Whereas if you have kind of more of a younger audience, they may be more inclined to look at your pictures. If you have a very rushed audience, they want all that information all at once, well then, you got to invest in doing some video, right? So that in a nutshell is the way Instagram works, right? It's a very open platform. It's a very visual platform. Stories have been a game changer, right, in the way that Instagram operates. Now you have Reels coming out, already came out, right? Reels has been a big game changer for those that are taking advantage of Reels. Quick side note, I think it's really weird that, and this is a no bias, right? I'm just looking at things from a marketing standpoint, that a lot of other agencies don't offer Reels to their clients. And I'm just like, why? Why wouldn't you do that? But hey, anyways, besides the point, right? So that's Instagram. Let's go back here as we do. And for those of you who are just joining, basically what I'm doing is I'm doing a little bit of an audit, of an overview of all social media. We're going to look at what's working, what's not. We're going to look at alternatives, if any, and we're going to press forward in that way. And we're going to have this live be downloadable as well, so don't sweat it if you miss out on this. It's all right. Okay, next we're gonna talk about TikTok. TikTok has been such a just disruptor, right? A disruptor is something that just messes up the order or the perceived hierarchy of things, and that's exactly what has happened with TikTok. There used to be a perception, right, that content had to be in a certain way. Um, the way that Facebook advertising was happening, even Instagram to a certain extent for some businesses, they were treating it almost like a newspaper. Hey, you have to have 20% text. It needs to be over here. You need to, this doesn't match the brand colors exactly. You can't post this. It doesn't look good. No, that's not the way people really like to market. And that's why I like TikTok, at least from a content standpoint, right? I like it from a content standpoint because it is a platform where you don't have to follow the norms of business. You really don't. And for some people, you've been almost engineered, you've been almost trained to like always talk business. For example, me right now, it's kind of out of my comfort zone to speak normal in front of the camera, believe it or not. I'm used to talking in a business way, right? I mean, business phone calls, in-person meetings, but to talk in a more casual way, I have to kind of, I don't know, dumb it down or something, if that makes sense. But with TikTok, you can be chill, you can be serious too, right? If you're targeting an older audience, there's some older audiences that are moving their way into TikTok already, believe it or not. What I like about TikTok is that it is so volatile, yet it does give rewards. I want to do a brief aside. I want to talk about one of our clients who, I could tell obviously he was hesitant to start TikTok, and, I'll give him due diligence, right? I mean, you hear a lot of weird stuff, right, about TikTok sometimes. You hear about, it being linked to whatever third parties in China and stuff, and with CCP and all this stuff, right? All this big bad stuff. But regardless of what happens on the structure of TikTok, it's important to look at the benefits, right? And that's exactly what we're gonna do. We're gonna break down the facts for you. So the facts are that TikTok, by a large margin, okay, like if you compare, right, the Earth to the moon, right? And the moon is like Facebook growth capability on an organic side, and then the Earth is gonna be TikTok, right? And then TikTok monetization is like the sun, right? I mean, really, when you take advantage of TikTok and you start posting the content, you're gonna see right off the bat, it already has a huge growth margin over Facebook or anything even as such, right? Because you have the ability to reach people that are not tied to your followers list on such an easy level, right? So let me break it down to you this way, right? So the client that we started with, he had zero. In fact, he had zero interest in being in the TikTok platform. He's a businessman. He's got a lot of other things to do. So we said, hey, you know what? Don't worry about it. Just give us time to meet with you in person and do some video shooting, right, and take care of you. We'll give you some ideas, some concepts. You approve them, and there you go. We'll take care of everything. And so that's exactly what we did. So he started with 0 followers, literally 0 synced from any other type of platform, and immediately his first video had 45K views. Okay, and so that just gives you an idea of what kind of growth happens. I mean, I have clients that, even though, for LinkedIn or for something like that, it's a phenomenal growth, to get like 45K within a month. But this guy had 45K on this platform, TikTok, in one post, right? And so that's a major difference. Now, obviously, things take time with something like TikTok because it is so volatile. There's no cheat sheet. There's no cookie cutter style. There's no, hey, copy this template and paste it on here for this guy. You literally can't do that, right? It's all video based. You have to be really authentic with it and take your time. And so that's why I do recommend TikTok. There are some things that I, obviously, such as censorship, that has hit so many of these social medias. It's crazy. If I tell you which ones aren't censored, there's like barely any, right? And so those are the negatives, right? But looking from the positives, there's such an ability to grow. You just have to have to go with it. Okay, so my advice with someone that is teeter-tottering, right, between should I do TikTok? Is TikTok even going to be a thing? Is TikTok going to be shut down? Is it going to get rid of? Whatever happens, I would say you're at minimal risk, because no matter what, even if you make these TikTok videos and somewhere down the line TikTok disappears out of nowhere, if you're doing a good job with your marketing, that is not a problem. Because a good marketer spreads out their marketing campaigns across multiple social media platforms, at least two. So let me put it to you this way, right? In a more straightforward way that people market is you should be doing at least two platforms, and one should be an 80%, one should be 20%. Right? So let's say 80% emphasis on Instagram, 20% emphasis on Facebook, something like that. When you do something like TikTok, as a business, right? If you're doing it as a business, I don't recommend you put all your cards in on TikTok and forget about all social media. It's just not how it rolls. But if you put in 20%, and then you see the results and you put in 30 and 40 and 50, I think you're going to be really satisfied with the results. And at the end of the day, as long as you properly archive and save and categorize all your information in case for whatever reason, it gets deleted or whatnot, you can at least ride the wave, right? Just how people ride stocks, right? And when the going is good, you really have to enjoy yourself, right? And that's pretty much it, right? My recommendation is this: ride the TikTok wave as much as you can. If you don't have the time or commitment to do it, hey, hit up a marketing agency. That's what we specialize in, so we can look at your growth patterns, how you can grow on this platform if it's something that meets your brand expectations. Clearly you have to have a little bit of a sense of humor, right, to do something like TikTok. Can't take yourself too serious. I mean, you literally have people doing the most ridiculous kind of dances and stuff on here, right? So you have to be willing to kind of get out your comfort zone to do something like TikTok, but it is a platform that has growth capabilities. I will give it that. All right, so we're like not even halfway through. So I told you guys this may be a really in-depth thing, or maybe something short. It looks like it's going to be the long ways. So let's talk a little bit more about some platforms. I'm going to talk about Snapchat. That one really is kind of a wild card, right? Businesses don't really know how to approach it. Some people just leave it out entirely. I would say play around with it if it makes sense for your business. Here are some of the breakdowns of Snapchat. I personally don't even use Snapchat. I haven't used it in the longest time. However, one of the benefits about marketing yourself on Snapchat is that you can reach such a younger audience. And again, similar to TikTok, it's a much more casual setting. So you don't have to feel constricted to, the realms of standard business, right? It's not like a LinkedIn or anything in any kind of way. One of the things that's really good about Snapchat, though, is that you don't need a page, a business page for it. Believe it or not, the way you can advertise on Snapchat is you can either work with a marketer, obviously, or you can try to get yourself approved for the advertising. It takes a while, go through the business verification, etc. And all you need is actually a budget, and you need a link for them to go to, and that's it. So that's my 2 cents on Snapchat. If you want to try it out for your business. As far as the pricing of ads, I wouldn't say it's that expensive. Really just depends what you're trying to sell and what you're trying to do, of course, with everything, duh. But as far as, let's cover the basics, right? I'll give you an example. We did some Snapchat campaigns for a local gym. If you're doing something like a local gym, it's low volume, right, but high retention rate. The assumption is once you get one of those clients that they're going to stay for a long time, right? If you're doing something like that kind of selling strategy, play around with Snapchat. It's not something terrible, I would say. Price wise, it's around the same price as Facebook advertising, if you're familiar with that. The way that they run their metrics is a little bit differently. So if you're a beginner, I don't recommend starting off Snapchat right away. I would definitely recommend doing it the managed way, right? Having a marketing agency guide you through that. But just to cover, right, one of the other disclaimers is that yes, Snapchat has decided to join the censorship group of social media platforms. So that is the negative to that. Okay, so moving through more on the list. I promise, guys, we're getting there. We're getting through the juicy stuff. All right. So this one is huge. Okay, and this is probably going to take the bulk of my time. I'm going to talk to you guys about the big Google conglomerate. Okay, so Google encompasses many things that you don't even know, that I don't even know, or that I don't want to bore you guys with researching right now, is Google owns so many sub companies, hosting companies, things that are really tied into your business that you just don't even think about it, right? So when people say, I don't want to use Google anymore, I'm like, are you sure about that, right? Because there's so many things that are tied to it. People say that they have a Gmail. Hello, owned by Google. You really have to think about it. Even as an agency, myself, I actually use Google's platforms for just about anything. So obviously you can see how this affects so many people on different levels. On my end, I'm just deeply grossed out by it. The level of censorship and stuff is just disgusting, right? But it's something that unfortunately is like inevitable, right? We just have to deal with it. I don't really like to say that, deal with it, but it's something that it's gonna take a long time to get out of, if you're planning to do that, to get out of integrating with that. Obviously, Google owns YouTube. YouTube has been big for the past months on their censorship. It's been pretty insane the way that they're doing it, even down to what you can say in the video, what you can write, the type of covers that you can use. And so with that being said, where does Google stand in the line of the cutting board, right? Should you still use it? Should you still use YouTube and stuff? My answer is this, is that if you are in an industry where you are at, I guess you could say, low risk, right? You post things that are not necessarily I want to say you post things that are not necessarily conflictive, right? Even though people like to conflict a lot of things. But if you're pretty, mellow, like things that people can't really go against, I don't know, maybe you're a soap company or something, right? You can definitely ride the YouTube wave. If you post things, or if you're a business that is maybe something like in the legal team and you need to disclose both sides of the field equally, well then, unfortunately Google and YouTube are becoming a platform that isn't fair. And so what do you do when the biggest search engine doesn't want to play fair? Well, there's plenty of alternatives. I won't say they're the best alternatives, right? There is Bing, which is owned by Microsoft. And to the full extent of my knowledge, Microsoft hasn't taken a huge stance on their major censorship. So you can still market on Bing. You can still use YouTube ads. But again, the monetization from an organic standpoint is just not the same. So if you're a paid creator who pushes out content and you expect to receive a lot of money, don't expect to continue receiving a lot of money. If you are someone who is planning to start up a YouTube page from scratch, I am going to nicely advise you to put that into like your 5% out of 100 business strategy, right? Don't rely on that at all. YouTube's organic growth is gonna decline in a way that it's gonna be very one-sided. There's gonna be a demand for more entertaining content that is viewed for one side, but from a business standpoint, they are definitely going the way of Facebook, which is the only way to stay on top is just to keep sending them money. That has nothing to do with SEO practices. We'll get to that on the later discussion on this, okay? Now, another platform that I want to bring up that I think it's pretty interesting in the way it operates, and I actually just started doing a couple campaigns for GMS just to try it out. I have done some in the past, but I want to do some more updated marketing and see what the user interface is like. I actually really like it. It's going to be Pinterest. Pinterest is another social media platform. They have also joined the censorship ban, unfortunately. But Pinterest offers a really unique experience in that what you post there is really tied to whether it looks good or not, right? It's Pinterest. It's a platform where people save information. And so when you have this marketing tactic in mind, it's really good for physical products, right? Things that people really do consider buying on instinct, right? So, for example, if I am selling a small little, I don't know, I already use this example. Well, if I'm selling like little artificial flowers, right, and my key market audience is like event specialists, right, and then I definitely want to use something like Pinterest, because people are going to save those flowers. They're going to be like, hey, you know what? This will be great for my next event, my quinceañera or whatever. And so when they're ready to purchase, you are going to be top of mind because you're consistently posting your content, and they're saving it, and they're going to go straight to you. I wouldn't really recommend Pinterest for anything of big transactions that takes a long time to go through the buying process. So, for example, something like getting a mortgage. You know, it's really not something that people think of on Pinterest. So don't get ideas there. Pinterest has a really interesting way of organic growth in that they don't really value followers that much, which is good because it offers more of a free playground, right? Get some water. It offers people who don't necessarily post a lot of content, they just post a little bit of quality content to get some recurring views and to let that grow and to not be dominated by someone that has 10,000 followers, right? With Pinterest, it's really interesting. And I've seen a couple of scenarios where this has played out, where people have had like 2 followers. However, they post a lot of really good content and they space it out real nicely, and they get like 30,000 views per month, which I think is incredible, right? And so it's again, it's not something where you expect a whole bunch of long-term sales. It's more something that is done based on impulse. But hey, if you plant a seed, eventually it can grow there. That's my 2 cents on Pinterest. Last but not least, at least the ones that I'm going to cover, I'm going to skip over a few. I'm not going to talk about Spotify, Pandora. I will cover that probably in another case, but I'm going to talk about LinkedIn. LinkedIn, thankfully, is one of the only platforms that I know, at least to date, that is not doing this whole heavy censoring thing. They've maintained their professional integrity, at least for now. LinkedIn is a great platform for B2B, of course. It's a business-to-business platform. They are magnificent for doing event campaigns. So if you're someone that likes to do social gatherings, or if you like to do, now is pretty much your only option, right? If you like to do virtual events, LinkedIn is perfect. LinkedIn is perfect for not pitching people. It's perfect for growing with people, growing relationships, finding out who the decision maker is. And then after you get their contact information, I don't recommend that you stay on LinkedIn, right? You got to do some other campaigns. You got to either talk to them on the phone, do a text campaign, something to stand out. Because unfortunately, what's happening with LinkedIn is that so many people are using it in a spammy kind of way that it just turns people off. Me as an avid, business reader inside LinkedIn, I like to read on there. I like the content that's in there, but I hate to be pitched on there because I get like over 100 pitches every single day for someone trying to sell me something on LinkedIn. And so if you're on there, bring people to the platform, take them to your website and handle things there, or handle things in face-to-face. Hey, you already got their interest, at least through some point, through some comment, through some post. Try to close that gap and do something else with it. LinkedIn does have a pretty good algorithm as far as growth organically, but you do have to be a real expert in your industry. Or not necessarily you have to be an expert, but you have to hire an agency that understands your business model so that you can look like an expert on there. You can't really fake it. It's not something to where, I see a lot of agencies do this and it's just it's disgusting to me, to be honest, to be blunt. All they do is post motivational stuff on their Instagram, and that's their way of growing their business. You know, hey, I'm a marketing agency. I'm just going to get you hyped, but I'm not going to show you any case studies. But that's an aside, right? You can't do that with LinkedIn. You have to post long form content that is pertinent to your industry, content that's important to your customers. And that's what I like about it, authenticity. I will say it's a hard platform to grow with organically. You have to be on it consistently. It's not something to where, TikTok, hey, all of a sudden I can just post and get a lot of traction right away if it just hits, right? Even if you write a perfect post on LinkedIn, it will take some time to grow. You do have to pick your connections wisely. There is a limit to the number of connections you can have, at least in certain time frames, right? So I can't just, invite a whole bunch of connections or sync my phone right away. You used to be able to do that. You can't do that now. So if I have like 10,000 connections on my phone, and I invite them all the way to connect with me on LinkedIn, I'm going to get banned right away, which is really strange. They're going to say, hey, hold on a second, you can't have more than like 2,000 pending connections, so we're going to ban you and you have to unfollow those until, it's just a mess, whatever. But I do respect LinkedIn a lot for the way that it's authentic with their growth. Once you do make it into that market and you get some people there that are following, it's important. Okay, so up to this point, if you're watching or if you're joining right now, basically what I'm doing is I'm going over all the social medias, the principal social medias. I'm breaking down their pros, their cons, and now we've gotten to the midpoint of this live, this very long live. If I still have any voice by then, I'm going to be talking about the alternatives to each one, all right, if there are any. So, first alternative is, hey, I am not comfortable with the level of censorship going on Facebook. What alternatives do I have? I will say this, the way that I've seen things, I've analyzed a couple of platforms, right? Some platforms that really push themselves into being a free speech type of platform. We've heard of Parler, we've heard of Clubhouse, really interesting. Clubhouse is really interesting. A couple other ones, right? But right now we're in such a really tumultuous state, right? With the way that things are getting banned and removed right away. I can't, as a marketer, recommend an alternative because they're not quite ready yet. For something like Facebook, it's so comprehensive. There is no real hard set alternative if you like everything that's within Facebook. So what do? Well, what you can start doing is you can start migrating your followers to other platforms that aren't exactly like Facebook, but that's okay, right? You have to adapt. You have to get out of the norm. So my recommendation is this. Start sourcing your contact information for your Facebook followers, right? Either through just asking them, hey, I have a special giveaway or something. Please enter your email, enter your phone number. We'll get in touch with you through alternative ways and give you your prize or something. Or just be upfront with it. Hey, as a business, we're going to take a stand against what's going on Facebook. We're grateful for all of you guys that are following us on the platform, but we would really encourage you guys to follow us through our email subscription or follow our LinkedIn page or something along that nature, right? But the goal is to take your data, take those contents, and have them with you so that you can decide where you want to take your business and your clients, wherever you want to go. You don't want to be dependent and tied to Facebook. I'll give you one of my critiques, heavy critiques in Facebook's recent advertising, is that especially during the time of election, their AI, or whatever they deem as AI, it's not really that intelligent. It glitched so many times and it destroyed many businesses, and they took no responsibility for it. So in one case, our advertiser platform, which thankfully, as a vetted business, we have a whole bunch of different backup business managers. Our business manager got disabled on Facebook twice during 2020, and both times it was apparently some type of glitch. So there you go. As far as reliability on Facebook ads, hey, you can definitely still use them, but be very cautious in your dependency on Facebook, especially in these coming days, weeks, or even months. Try to spread out your marketing through other avenues, even if you think you're completely dependent on Facebook. I promise you that's not the case, and it doesn't have to be that way. So mainline alternative for Facebook is to get your contacts out of there and start doing email marketing or text marketing. Okay, remember that. Email or text marketing. Okay, alternatives to Instagram. From a visual standpoint, again, I can't really give you a set alternative for Instagram. To my knowledge, there really isn't one that is set in stone in the same format that Instagram is. However, the way that Instagram is becoming, they are actually mimicking a lot of the features that are on TikTok. So if you want to be on TikTok, by all means, play around with it. Like I said earlier, ride the wave. There is a lot more organic growth opportunity than on Instagram. But for the time being, I will say this, Instagram is pretty safe. At least for posting organic content for now, as far as the growth model is. So even with all the censorship going on, stick around for the platform because it does have growth capabilities still. Until we start to see those decline on a major level, stick with it. Your only limitation, right, is on the advertising side. If you start to see some difficulties with that, get in touch with us and we'll walk you through how to do a proper email funnel. That way you can capture that information and you can market your business exactly how you want. So that's the issues with the platforms. No real alternatives that I see as at this moment in time. Quite frankly, right? Any alternatives to TikTok? No, not really. Skip that right away. Snapchat? Not really. And so when you're talking about other things, I mean, LinkedIn is in a safe spot as well. So I would definitely keep doing what you're doing if you're comfortable with LinkedIn. It's fine. It's a platform that for now has not been tainted with bad censorship, so you can definitely still roll with it. And let's talk about SEO, right? Really important to address what people are saying when they say, hey, I no longer want to use Google. You can't really escape it, unfortunately, at this moment in time. But what you can do is you can focus on more direct Instagram practices, right? More direct Google practices. And what I mean by that is start marketing your website for SEO, but internal SEO, not external SEO. So internal SEO means doing adjustments inside your website so that people can go to your website directly. When you do internal SEO, it lets you grow your business across any type of search engine because you're basically following the same basic principles for all, search platforms, whether it's Google or Yahoo. If you follow the same basic principles, you're pretty much good. So if you don't no longer want to use Google for your business, just follow basic SEO principles. And if you don't know what those are, hit us up, right? That's what we're here for. And you want to stay away kind of from more of the off-page SEO, which is doing the Google optimization. Because unfortunately, we don't know that the way that Google My Business is going, right? So again, ride the wave if you're seeing good success on there, but just be very careful with the way that's rolling out. Okay, guys, so I think I don't have any more voice left in me. I think I've talked to you guys for a long time. Hopefully you found this helpful in some type of way. Again, I'm going to try to distribute this content and maybe chop it up into a lot more smaller pieces so you guys can enjoy. But there's your 101 on what's happening, or 401 to say, on what's happening with all social media, pros, cons, alternatives. If you like the content, go ahead and give me a follow. If you're not following me already, make sure you're following my business. There's going to be lots of exciting updates on there at Golden Medina Services. That's our only national marketing agency. We also have some really exciting side projects going on, so stay tuned for that. As always, so thankful for our clients, and see you guys. Have a good night.